Most people think their dog is just staring because they want something. Food, a walk, attention. And yes, sometimes that's true, but that explanation is far too small for what's really happening. Because your dog watches you more than you think. Not just when you open the fridge, not just when you pick up the leash. They watch when you stand up too fast, when your breathing changes, when you go quiet in a way that feels different from normal quiet, when you move toward the door with purpose, when you sink into the couch like your body is heavier than usual. They are not simply looking at you, they are reading you. And the reason goes much deeper than affection. To a dog, survival has always depended on noticing what matters before it fully happens. Long before dogs slept in our homes, their ancestors lived by tracking motion, tension, direction, timing. A tiny shift in posture could mean prey was about to bolt. A sudden stillness could mean danger was near. In social groups, the ability to read another body quickly was not a cute extra skill. It was protection. It was coordination. It was the difference between moving together and falling behind. That ancient sensitivity did not disappear when dogs came to live with us. It simply changed jobs. Now the landscape your dog studies is not open forest or frozen ground. It is you. Your routines, your moods, your footsteps, the sound of your keys, the rhythm of your mornings, the particular way you bend down before putting on shoes, the tiny pause before you say their name. Dogs are masters of pattern, and living with a human means living inside a world of repeating signals. At first, they learn the obvious ones. Leash means outside, bowl means food, bedtime means lights dim, voices soften, the house exhales. But over time, many dogs begin learning something much more complex. Your emotional weather. You may think your feelings are private because you never said a word. Your dog does not need the words. They notice the pressure in your movements, the speed of your hands, the way sadness often comes with less motion, the way stress sharpens sound and changes pace. To a human, emotion often feels like an invisible internal experience. To a dog, emotion leaks into the body constantly. It changes posture, scent, timing, facial tension, voice, breath. And dogs live in a world where those changes are loud, especially scent. This is one of the biggest reasons your dog watches you so closely. Vision matters, of course. Dogs are excellent observers of body language, but your dog is not relying on sight alone. Their nose is pulling in information all the time, building a living map of what is happening around them. Human bodies release chemical changes through sweat and breath. Stress, fear, calm, illness, excitement, all of it can alter the scent picture. Your dog may not understand your experience the way another person would describe it, but they can detect that something in your state has shifted. So when your dog stares at you from across the room, it may not be emptiness. It may be active surveillance, a quiet check-in, a nervous system taking measurements. Are you settled? Are you leaving? Are you tense? Are you safe? Do I need to follow? Do I need to wait? Has the pattern changed? That last part matters more than most people realize. Dogs are deeply tuned to prediction. A predictable world is a safer world. When they know what comes next, their bodies can relax. When something breaks the usual pattern, attention rises. This is why some dogs follow you more closely on unusual days. Why they stare when you pack a bag at the wrong hour. Why they hover when you cry, pace, argue, or sit in the dark in the middle of the afternoon. It is not always comfort in the sentimental sense humans imagine. Sometimes it is your dog trying to understand a world that has briefly stopped making sense. And that is where this behavior becomes strangely beautiful. Because many dogs do not simply monitor the home, they monitor the human that anchors the home. In behavioral terms, humans often become attachment figures for dogs, not in a cartoon way. Not because dogs see us as magical parents in a human emotional script, but because through domestication and daily life, many dogs learn that one or two people in their world are the center of safety, access, routine, and recovery. When something startles them, they look toward that person. When they are uncertain, they check in. When they rest, they often position themselves where they can keep track of that person's location without fully getting up. That is why your dog may appear to be doing nothing while still knowing exactly where you are. They can be half asleep and still orient when you shift in your chair. They can be chewing a toy and still glance up the second your body turns toward another room. They can be resting in the hallway where they are not touching you. not asking for anything, but still keeping you in the edge of their sensory field. This is not random. It is a form of social mapping. Your dog is placing you inside their sense of stability, and sometimes what looks like clinginess is actually regulation. Dogs, like humans, have nervous systems that respond to safety and uncertainty. The presence of a trusted individual can help lower arousal. In plain language, your dog may feel calmer simply because they know where you are and what state you are in. Watching you is one of the ways they maintain that connection. It helps them decide whether they can relax, whether they should stay alert, whether the environment is normal enough to let their guard down. This is also why your dog may watch you more intensely when they are anxious. Fireworks, visitors, storms, strange sounds outside, a new baby, a suitcase by the door. In those moments, your face, your posture, your movement become information. If you are calm, that can matter. If you are tense, that matters too. Dogs are remarkably sensitive to human emotional spillover. They do not need to understand the reason to feel the effect. But there is another layer people often miss. Your dog is not only reading your emotions, they are studying your intentions. Humans constantly telegraph the future with movement, reaching, turning, leaning, standing, looking. Dogs become extraordinary at noticing the small beginnings of action, not because they are mind readers, but because bodies always announce themselves a fraction of a second early. And for an animal shaped by cooperation with humans over thousands of years, catching those signals became incredibly useful. The dogs who were better at reading us had advantages. They responded faster, worked better alongside us, avoided conflict more easily, found reward sooner. 1. Over generations, dogs became unusually skilled at attending to human cues, even compared with many other intelligent animals. So, when your dog watches you, they are often doing what their species has become astonishingly good at, treating human behavior as highly important data. This is why a dog can seem to know you're about to leave before you even touch the doorknob. Why they get excited before the walk is obvious to anyone else. Why they notice the difference between putting on shoes and putting on the shoes that mean something. Why they know the laptop closing move that leads to freedom, or the coat that means they are not coming with you, or the sigh that means the day is ending. They have not memorized words alone. They have memorized you in motion. And sometimes that watching carries a tenderness people underestimate, not because your dog is sitting there with human-style thoughts about your soul, but because in the world they inhabit, paying close attention is one of the clearest forms of bond. To stay aware of another being is to stay connected to them. In social animals, watching is often part of staying together, staying coordinated, staying safe. Your dog is not staring because they are empty-headed. They are staring because you matter enough to track. That is the part that changes everything. When your dog lifts their head just because you moved, when they glance at you from across the room, when they seem to know your mood before anyone else does, you are seeing the result of thousands of years of adaptation meeting the intimate details of daily life. You are watching an animal whose brain has learned that your body is meaningful terrain. Your patterns shape their expectations. Your presence affects their calm. Your changes pull their attention like movement in the wild once did. So the next time you catch your dog watching you, don't reduce it to begging, boredom, or some vague idea of clingy love. What may be happening is far more profound. Your dog has woven you into their internal map of how the world works. They watch because your movements predict the future, because your emotional state changes the atmosphere they live in, because your presence can steady their body. Because in the deepest behavioral sense, keeping track of you is part of how they feel their way through life. You are not just being looked at, you are being monitored, interpreted, and quietly held inside the attention of an animal for whom attention has always been tied to survival, connection, and trust. And maybe that is why it feels so powerful when you turn and find those eyes already on you. Not demanding, not dramatic, just there, soft, alert, patient. As if some part of your dog has decided, again and again, that wherever you go, inside this shared life, they want to know. If that made you see your dog a little differently, stay close here. This channel is for the people who know that the smallest animal behaviors often hold the deepest stories.